What has to happen to you? And how long is it going to take all of you to understand that if we all stood up together and said, no, get back in your cage, you can't fool us any longer, we know what the law is, we know who you are, we know what you're trying to do, we know that you are in subversion, executing treason, and it's over. And ladies and gentlemen, what would it take to make you understand that if we all did that in concert, it would really be over? And no one would be injured, not even with a tiny scratch. Because they're cowards. They wouldn't even think of attempting to overcome a whole people who stood together. But you see, I know that won't happen. I know human nature, and I have studied history well. Most people are cowards, have always been cowards, will always be cowards, and they will hide and whimper and wail and gnash their teeth and cry, waiting for those of us who are not cowards to do something on their behalf. And we will, as we have always done throughout the history of the world, we will, but let me ask you this. In light of that, why will we? Why have we? And what are you going to do to us when it's all over? Because that always happens too. You see, the vast herd of cowards become shamed, and we become the symbol of their disgrace, and then they must get rid of us. I'll tell you why we do it. Because we have a spiritual motivation that most of you cannot and will not ever understand. We do it out of love. We do it for our children and your children and all of the future generations of the world, which we refer to as our posterity. And we really don't give a damn what happens to us. I know that someday I will stand before God, and God will judge me. And all that I hope for in this entire world is that when it happens, He will not have to say anything, bad or good, just smile. And if that happens, I will be enthralled throughout eternity. I will have such joy within my soul that you cannot even imagine. Just a little smile, that's all I want. I would like to be able to look down and see that my children are living free, without fear, with opportunity to create and to make of their lives what they will. Ladies and gentlemen, all I want, or all I have ever wanted you to be, is honest, committed, caring, loving, and understanding that there are those in this world who cannot love themselves, much less love you, and therefore will try to hurt you and me and our children and our world, and those people we must oppose and fight. You cannot have peace, love, and understanding with those kinds of people, because to do it would mean your destruction.
Looking for a fast way to track what's moving online right now? Head over to Qnotables.com. It's a centralized index of notable clips, headlines, and references being shared across the community, organized for quick browsing. Use it to spot patterns, pull links, and build your own research list. Qnotables.com. Browse the notables, verify the facts, stay informed. All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
From the Q Research Board's April 24, 2026 top story tonight, President Trump says Iran wants a deal, but its leaders are fighting like cats and dogs. The president says he has all the time in the world, but Iran does not, warning that the clock is ticking. With the Strait of Hormuz still sitting at the center of the crisis, Washington is sending a clear message: negotiate now or face deeper consequences. President Trump also warned that nuclear escalation cannot be allowed to become normal policy. Asked about the danger of nuclear weapons, he said a nuclear weapon should never be used by anybody. He later warned that a nuclear holocaust in Europe would be catastrophic, naming London, Paris, and Germany as possible targets in a worst-case scenario. The message was direct: this is not a game, and the stakes are global. Israel and Lebanon have agreed to extend their ceasefire for 3 more weeks after talks led by President Trump at the White House. The deal keeps the pause in place while both sides remain on edge. Hezbollah and Israel continue accusing each other of violations, but for now, the guns are quieter, and the next 3 weeks will decide whether this ceasefire holds or breaks. The Trump administration is moving against birth tourism networks, arguing that foreign nationals are abusing U.S. citizenship law by traveling to America specifically to give birth. Supporters say the crackdown protects American citizenship from being turned into a business model. The fight now moves to enforcement, immigration policy, and Congress. The Senate filibuster fight is heating up again, with conservatives calling for an end to the so-called zombie filibuster and a return to the talking filibuster. The argument is simple: if senators want to block election security legislation, they should have to stand on the floor and defend it publicly. The Southern Poverty Law Center is facing federal fraud charges tied to alleged payments to informants inside extremist groups. Prosecutors say donor money was used in ways the organization did not properly disclose. The indictment has opened a major credibility crisis for one of the most politically powerful nonprofits in the country. The Soros-backed Open Society Network and the Tides Foundation are back under scrutiny because of past funding links to left-wing organizations, including the SPLC. Critics say the funding pipeline helped build a political pressure machine. The SPLC indictment is now forcing a closer look at who funded what and why. James O'Keefe says police came to his office and confiscated his firearms. The seizure is tied to a court order and a restraining order dispute. O'Keefe is framing the action as a civil liberties issue, and the story is already feeding a larger debate over gun rights, political targeting, and due process. Representatives Lauren Boebert and Eric Burleson are warning that federal monitoring of gun owners needs to be stopped before an April 30th deadline. Their argument is that Congress must act before surveillance tools become permanent. The issue now sits at the center of the Second Amendment and privacy debate. California Sheriff Chad Bianco's run for governor is drawing more attention as crime, immigration, homelessness, and election oversight dominate the state debate. Bianco is running as a law and order Republican in a deep blue state, aiming his message at voters who believe California's current leadership has failed on public safety. A cost of living report says California residents are paying sharply above the national average for basics, including groceries, gas, and utilities. The numbers reinforce what many families already feel. California's high-tax, high-regulation model is making daily life harder for working people. Representative Ilhan Omar is facing renewed scrutiny after questions about financial disclosures and the reported value increase of businesses tied to her husband. Omar says she is not a multimillionaire and blamed an accounting error. House Oversight Republicans say the matter deserves answers because of broader Minnesota fraud concerns.
At shop.isawaya.com, everything you buy supports Acun.top, the place where people talk freely no matter what. Check out our Acun Honey Pot, a jar of yummy honey that's as strong as your voice. Put it on toaster and tea. It's not just honey, it's freedom in every bite. Then there's Acun Butter, a smooth handmade skin cream that makes you feel good while you fight for what's right. Awesome wood and pieces for display only. Hang them up or set them out. They're for showing off Acun's tough spirit. Want to help even more? Get a proto membership. So go to shop.isawaya.com now and grab some goodies. Help Acun.top keep free speech alive, and let's keep the ideas flowing loud and free.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
From the Q Research Boards, April 24, 2026, First Lady Melania Trump spoke at the 113th First Ladies Luncheon, using the event to highlight foster care issues and her work around children aging out of the system. Her remarks kept foster care near the center of her public agenda and brought attention back to one of her signature causes. President Trump announced a renovation plan for the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool, saying the aging site needs repairs before America's 250th birthday celebration. The plan calls for a faster, cheaper resurfacing project instead of a long, expensive replacement. The White House says the goal is to restore a major national landmark. President Trump announced a drug pricing agreement with Regeneron as part of his administration's most favored nation pricing push. The deal is aimed at lowering what Americans pay for certain prescriptions by tying prices closer to what other countries pay. Healthcare affordability is becoming a major issue heading into the election cycle. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced Senate questioning over glyphosate, the widely used weed killer. Kennedy has warned about cancer risks, putting pesticide policy, food safety, and agricultural production back in the national spotlight. Election integrity remains in focus as a Wisconsin special counsel report draws attention from activists after claims involving Obama campaign manager David Plouffe and Eric founder David Becker. The fight over Wisconsin's election process is not over, and the report is renewing calls for a deeper review of outside influence in election systems. The January 6 pipe bomb case has taken another turn as suspect Brian Cole Jr. continues fighting the charges. Court filings show the case remains active, and prosecutors say the evidence points to Cole. The case remains one of the most closely watched unresolved threads from the events surrounding January 6th. New reporting identifies Gavin Wilde as the previously unnamed Witness 2 connected to the first Trump impeachment fight. The report says Wilde worked with Eric Ciaramella and had connections to Peter Strzok and the 2016 intelligence assessment. The story is raising new questions about the network behind the Ukraine impeachment push. The Justice Department's investigation into Obama-era officials continues to draw attention, with John Brennan, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and James Comey all named in reporting tied to the probe. A grand jury in Fort Pierce, Florida, has been connected to the matter. The central issue is whether the Russia investigation involved misconduct at the highest levels. In international news, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi is again pointing to Iran's ancient connection with Israel. Pahlavi said his visit to Israel showed the world that Iranians are descendants of Cyrus the Great, who helped free the Jewish people. His message separates the Iranian people from the current Islamic regime in Tehran. Prince Harry used a speech in Ukraine to call for American leadership in support of Kiev. He framed the issue as a security obligation and spoke as a veteran. The speech came just days before King Charles's scheduled U.S. state visit, adding political attention to the royal family's public split. Russian media reports say France and Poland are preparing nuclear strike exercises involving Russia as the target. The report comes as Europe's military posture continues hardening, with the continent preparing for a longer and more dangerous standoff with Moscow. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is accusing Europe of moral and political decay, using language about rampant Satanism inside the European Union. The statement reflects Moscow's broader message, presenting Russia as a defender of tradition while framing the West as spiritually and culturally broken.
Every voice matters. The power of free speech is more important than ever. Imagine a place where you can share your thoughts freely, explore new ideas, and engage in meaningful conversations anonymously. With online anonymity, you can express yourself without fear of judgment. It's about freedom, creativity, and connection. Join the conversation that matters. Embrace your voice. Celebrate your freedom. Visit 8kun.top today. That's 8kun.top.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
From the Q Research Board's April 24, 2026, the European Union's foreign-born population has reached a record 64.2 million people. Germany remains the largest destination in raw numbers, while Spain has seen major growth. Migration remains one of Europe's defining political, economic, and cultural issues. In crime news, federal prosecutors have charged U.S. Army Special Forces Master Sergeant Gannon Ken Van Dyke with using classified information to profit from prediction market bets tied to the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Prosecutors say he made more than $400,000 from insider knowledge. The case is now a major test for political and geopolitical betting markets. Border agents in Arizona uncovered an RPG launcher and rifles hidden in a vehicle headed toward Mexico. The discovery adds to ongoing concerns about weapons flowing across the border and into cartel hands. Federal officials are using the case as another example of why outbound border enforcement matters. A Utah couple has been charged in an international parental kidnapping case after taking a 10-year-old child to Cuba during a custody dispute. Federal authorities say the child has been returned to the United States. The case is drawing national attention because of the custody fight, the travel route, and the concerns raised by investigators. An Alabama girls basketball coach has been arrested after a 32-count indictment involving alleged sex crimes with a student. Authorities say Paige Adams resigned from Cold Springs High School shortly before the charges were filed. The case is now moving through the courts. A violent tornado hit Enid, Oklahoma, with damage reported near Vance Air Force Base. Search and rescue crews responded after homes and infrastructure were damaged. Officials reported injuries, and severe weather season is already putting communities across the region on alert. A NASA nuclear engineer, Joshua LeBlanc, was found dead after a fiery Tesla crash in Alabama. LeBlanc worked on advanced nuclear propulsion projects, and his family has raised questions about the circumstances before the crash. The case is drawing national attention. Another aviation death involving a scientist and defense-linked researcher is drawing questions after aerospace engineer and military veteran James Tony Moffett died in a South Carolina plane crash with family members. Lawmakers are now looking at a broader pattern of deaths and disappearances tied to sensitive research fields. In tech and markets, Kalshi has suspended and fined 3 political candidates for betting on their own election races. The company says the trades violated its rules against insider activity. The case raises a larger question, whether election betting creates incentives for candidates and insiders to manipulate political markets for profit. Hassan Piker is facing criticism after defending theft from large corporations during a broader debate sparked by a New York Times podcast discussion of shoplifting. Critics argue that retail theft does not hit billionaires first. It hits workers, shoppers, and neighborhoods through higher prices, closed stores, and tighter security. Hung Chow, a retired U.S. Navy captain, has taken on a senior Navy role after a career that included diving and salvage work. One notable part of his biography is that, as a Navy diver, he helped recover wreckage from the JFK Jr. plane crash. His military background is now part of his public profile in Washington. That is the rundown tonight. Iran pressure rising, the Lebanon ceasefire extended, SPLC under indictment, election integrity fights widening, border weapons seized, political betting exposed, and major questions still building around national security, public trust, and who is really accountable.
Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com.
That's all for now. Stay alert, stay informed, and never hand your thinking over to anyone on a screen, including me. God bless you, God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America. See you soon.